Is crypto like
Yes.
seen as a bad thing or a good thing by the government in India?
One of the major learnings that I took out from our first charter was it's not like your money is gone. It's like you don't have a transparency or a view where exactly it is stuck. So obviously, it's not like anybody will give you money, but to become a $2 trillion, I believe the first thing that one should focus on.
Why don't you kick it off with like your history a little bit, like who you are as a
Sure.
person, and we could kind of
Yeah.
go from there.
Okay, I'm the CEO of Infinity. Infinity is a Y Combinator with a 24 batch company. Um, Before jumping into what Infinity does, I'll give you a quick background. So I'm an engineer turned founder. This is my second startup. My first startup was in back in 16 in healthcare. So I was going through your Daniel. I was going through your background as well. So I was kind of had a similar storyline. Worked in healthcare in 2016 in India, out of India itself. Our idea was to build a united ID for healthcare data. So essentially, if you have been in India at like Agam, you must be knowing whenever there's a chronic patient, generally carry all our files wherever we go, right? As a chronic disease patient. And the idea was, can we, with the cloud coming in, can we integrate everything on a single platform? So worked there for 3 years, 3.5 years, worked with all of largest of the hospitals of India, sold that company and moved out. Then joined Paytm Money, which is India's largest, one of the largest wealth management platform as a head of data. So when I say wealth management, is more of a Robin Hood of India, where we help people to invest into mutual funds, stocks, and everything. Scale that business to 20 million monthly active user base, and then jump to start my own because once you are started, you want to have your own leeway and build something of your own, and then just started jump build our own product, which is Infinity. Coming about my background, I am a typical Marwadi. Like Marwadi is a kind of a caste in India who actually migrate from one place to another place, and they try to build their own businesses. So coming from Rajasthan, western part of India, to coming down to western part, and now staying in Bengaluru. Total of 10 years of experience, engineer turned product manager turned founder. Yeah. So currently, that's my quick background. Um, Talking about my family, so I come from a business family. So my father runs a business in chemical, and this is where the whole idea of Infinity came up. So my father has a chemical import-export business where he imports a lot of chemicals from China, Korea, that refurbish those materials and send across Japan, UAE, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Since he has been in this business for the last 20 years, we have seen him how he manages his business from the finance perspective, right? Like he has a USD account for managing payments in USD. Then he have a yuan account, yen account. He manages multiple bank accounts so that he gets the best forex possible. And this is where we click for him, he has a team of members of accountants to work around the flow of cash. But if you think and extrapolate to the same for a normal middle class or normal SMB, they might not have that kind of capability to handle those money, right? And that's what we thought. Is it possible to build for this SMBs where who want to go global but do not have the capability? Can we enable them with a easy to use platform where they can open multi currency accounts, go global from day one rather than depending on their banks and other mid layers agents? Can we build that product? And that's where the whole idea generation started off. And that's what how we can build Infinity around. We applied with the similar idea, same idea during YC, got into YC, started building it. And over the last 6 months, we have around 200 plus customers onboarded, growing 20% week on week, helping them go global from like starting with India, US market, and then scaling it up. So yeah, that has been a quick introduction about me, about company. Happy to go in detail of anywhere you want me to.
I guess one question for you, like just go backtracking a little bit. So you started a company in healthcare and you were able to successfully sell that, is what you're saying? Like so you had a good
So
built it,
I,
sold it.
yes, yeah, sold it. I won't say I had a great exit, but I made money. Whatever I put in, we got a return on that. But as the challenge in healthcare, as we all understand, like it's difficult to make a big business out of it. So it's difficult to crack the data part of it because of data privacy and because of no input or no mandate per se to manage that kind of big data set on a single layer. In the Indian, if you look up the Indian government system, uh, one of the biggest challenge in healthcare has been no single like there's no government input to for hospitals or mandate from government to for hospitals to manage that data on a central location. It's like the challenge that we have been facing was like the solution that you have built for one of the hospital chain is not replicable for another hospital chain. Essentially, they not want to share data because I believe that's their more of a moat because if they share data, that's like customer for them and they do not want to be part on that part, right? So that's one of the challenges that we faced. We tried to create a kind of a single cloud system for them, but eventually it be more become a solution rather than a product. We were creating a solution for one of the hospital chain, which is not replicable on another hospital chain. So it's kind of a solution-driven approach rather than a product-driven approach, which is not like all EHRs that they have their own internal EHR system. And essentially, at scale, we thought like we could not make what we believe we could have been like we were not able to scale the way we wanted to. And then eventually, we just sold our product to one of our client, got acquired over there, got enough money as a cash, but could not make what we wanted to achieve out of it. So yeah, we moved out of that after that 3 years, 3.5 years. Yeah.
And it sounds like it was like just looking at some history, you were venture funded in that startup also. So you had
Yes.
some
Yes.
funding.
Yeah.
Um
We had funding.
and you were in India when you did this, when you built this company. So it's, that's a testament to like the Silicon Valley type startup. I guess a question for you, like in the India environment, did you create like stock options and that sort of thing for the employees, or it was just like very different?
No,
Like,
we do have stock options. So to hire the best engineers, obviously we didn't have that much of money to begin with. After investments, yes, we did have, but our founding engineers, the people who joined us very early, we had the stock options for them,
okay,
and they made money because they were stuck with us for 3.5 years. So we made money on that. Yes, the founding engineers made money. We made money. Yes, but we generally have that stock options available today as well. So yes,
okay, so it was very similar to like the Silicon Valley
yes,
way, where like
yes,
you get an investor, you have a cap table, you have a bunch
yes,
of
yes,
employees that have stock options. Okay, so you did it that way. And you went, it was a 3-year journey. Like you built something that was successful but not scalable. This time around, you're doing it again. You're only like a year in, essentially less than a year in. Like, how do you avoid those mistakes because you did it the first time, second time founder? I mean, that's amazing that you're doing it again. I think like what's going to make you avoid those same like type pitfalls, I would call it, where you have these larger customers, or it seems like they were your first customers, it seemed like they were driving the product a lot and like you were
yeah, yeah,
custom building it for them. Like this time around, what did you learn from that, which you're not going to do in this one?
yeah. One of the major learnings that I took out from our first startup was like sometimes you have to say no. You might have a bigger name on your as a customer or investor. You have to learn to say no. It might be a big check or it might be a big customer, but to succeed in the long run, you have to say no. So that's where like you have to take a call, which is what is right for you or is right for the company, and taking no. For example, from my previous startup, as I said, put up correctly, we had the biggest of the clients. But I believe that they were not correct for us early stage startup like us, probably. So that is one of the greatest bigger learning that we have. Key always start small, iterate quicker, and fail faster rather than waiting for the big client and solving for them completely end to end and waiting, hoping to replicate the same with the other clients. That's one of the biggest learning that I had. Second would be having a customer and having a paid customer are two different things. That's one of the second learnings that I have. Like in healthcare, essentially in healthcare in India, you can get easily customers, but making money out of them is a difficult challenge altogether. One of the second learning that I put up is whatever we do today, we make sure if we are onboarding somebody, we make sure there's a revenue angle associated with it. They know they have to pay for it. There's a free period, yes, but essentially there's a paid part to it, and they actually abide by the paid part or revenue part. The revenue generation cannot be an afterthought in the business. That's the second learning, at least I'm taking from my first, so not so successful startup. Yeah, that there are a couple of learnings.
So the big one, it sounds like make generate revenue, and I think that's like an ethos in Silicon Valley these days, like in the whole area, just because the market has changed a lot, as generate revenue as quickly as possible. Is it I'm assuming it's founder-led sales in India right now, like
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Like, what is a good customer right now for you? Is it a business in India that's trying to move money out of India or trying to move money into India? Like, what would you say is an ideal customer
So
for the new company?
currently, yeah. So currently, if I have to divide the whole forex or a payment, cross-border payment in India, generally they can be whole system can be divided into export and import companies. Like if you look up Indian businesses, we currently do around some $700 billion of export. Why we are so much focused on export is because given tech services that we do and software companies that we have in India, we become like a second hub for any company all over the world, where people want to have a tech team. Like there's a payout happening to India a lot, like because we have a lot of contractors and tech companies sitting out of India. So our focus currently is on the export driven, where we are providing companies who are providing services outside and money coming inside India, which is today as touted as $700 billion, targeted for $2 trillion by 2030. So our current focus is on the export side of business. Eventually, we do have a lot bigger import as well, where we do a lot of hardware and semiconductors import from different countries. That's a second leg of product, but that's something is work in progress. Our current major focus is completely on the export side, starting with service companies or software SaaS companies who are providing services like selling software from India to the world.
Got it. So you're people that are importing stuff in or out. It's just out or in or out.
Service suppliers are outside, money coming into the India.
Okay, so suppliers are going out, so they're shipping supplies
Shipping
out.
outside. Yes,
Okay, and
yes,
then the money would flow into India. So that's like
yes,
the first infrastructure for you.
yes. Yeah,
And are you part? I guess are you using like any of the? I guess you guys are building that infrastructure to like move that money back and forth. But are you doing something different than other players in the market? Like I guess right now things are primarily wires. Like that's probably the most international. Why are wires the only international thing? Like why not ACH? That's an America thing,
yeah.
right? They have other types of maybe AC maybe there's like international ACHing, but like what how is money moved right now from India to India? Like is it
Yeah.
generally just a wire right now?
So generally, if a company has to receive money from a country outside, let's say, from example, like I have a client sitting out of US probably, and I want to receive money in. Generally, it's account to account transfer via Swift. So I have in India, I have a exchange currency account. So my current bank gives me a trade. We call it exchange EEFC account or exchange currency account, foreign currency account, or a trade account. Generally, via Swift, they move. We receive money end to end as a Swift on the back end, which is wire plus Swift via correspondence bank into my bank account. So generally, I would receive a USD from a client where, let's say, I have an Indian account in ICICI Bank and my client has a account in JP Morgan. Essentially, money moves from JP Morgan to ICICI via multiple correspondence bank using Swift as a channel, which generally takes around 3 to 5 days, which has multiple costs involved since many banks are involved in between, there are multiple costs involved. And obviously, there's a foreign exchange that's happening. Right? That's the current structure that is there, where it's a bank driven whole journey, where I have to open an account and then I have to provide that information to my counterparty, and they will be sending money to me. And tracking and everything is obviously, which is traditional bank is very difficult, and I'm not sure what's the rate I'm getting. So that's the current challenge that is there. From the money movement part, there's another part of the same story, which is compliance and regulations, because since money is moving between countries, there's a lot of compliance part which also gets associated as well. That's a two part of the whole journey of moving money. What essentially we do to help our customers is like, one, definitely, can we bring down the cost? Because that's the important part. Currently, it's charged you around 3% to 5%, depending on what country, what currency you are moving money from. One is the cost. Can we get down the cost? Second is the transparency of the rate as well as transparency of where my money is. So essentially, since money is moving between multiple countries via multiple banks, there's no visibility of where my money is stuck, if it's stuck. So let's say JP Morgan, your client is sending money from JP Morgan to India in ICICI Bank. Since these two banks do not directly talk, there are multiple small banks which get in, there's a communication happening in multiple small banks in between, which are called correspondence bank. Since there are multiple banks involved, if there is a challenge in any of those banks, you do not have visibility where it is stuck. Right? It might take something between 3 days to 10 days to 15 days to 45 days. This essentially was what we're trying to solve, where can we help our customers with a cheaper, faster, and a complete transparent way of moving money. That's the moving money part. And then after that, there's a compliance part. Can we automate the compliance as well? Currently, the compliance part is taken care by the business owner himself, which is manual. So there's no, which is in the way you have to share a document to a central bank and you get approval from your bank saying, yeah, I have received money for this particular purpose. So next part is, can we automate this process as well? So that end-to-end control is with hand of the business owner. He have complete visibility with no dependency on the third party or a vendor or operationally easy player. So that's the whole vision. How are we cutting down is like by managing accounts across countries. So we have partnership with multiple banks across countries. Essentially, we become collection holder for you. So we'd kind of do a debit on one side and credit on another side, so that essentially there's no money movement happening, but more of a currency control. And you choose when you want to move money. So essentially, the end customer is moving money to my account in US, where I've created sub accounts for my customers. So he's moving money in that account. There's a credit on that side. Once I know there's a money has been received via ACH, because then I can cut down the cost. I can debit on my Indian counter side and move money to the Indian party, which is my client. So that way, we're cutting down the cost of by removing those all intermediary banks. So that's the way, at least we are trying today by partnering with banks across the world.
So you guys are you setting it, sorry, you said a lot. Are you setting up an entity yourselves to like hold that money? Or you're just letting the banks hold it and then you're basically monitoring it and giving updates real time to
So
the
we
client in India?
essentially, do both things. In countries where we can manage money, we do that. Otherwise, we become just a facilitator of funds with giving a direct API control and visibility to our clients. So depends on country to country model. In some countries where we have a lot of control and we have licenses, we kind of control the money then, because over there we can play on the FX fluctuations. On some other countries where we do not have license, we cannot do that. And in that scenario, it's just more of a visibility, or we partner with a TSP who can hold money. So we have both the models working.
Currently, how many countries do you cater to?
So we currently cater to major 25 currencies, 130 odd countries. Major currencies being USG, obviously, but our major is the USD part. Uh, Euro, GBP, CAD, AUD. CAD is something we just opened up recently, which is obviously difficult. Something we usually want to do is the China yen, which is the most difficult as of today. We have not been able to crack that. Yuan as well. There's a few of the currencies that we have not been able to crack. But yes, major are the USD, Euro, GBP, and 25% currencies.
Got it. Okay, so you're slowly rolling it out. And is the vision to like allow this? I guess what's the vision? Is it to allow it to like happen for all countries where like India can pull money in? Is that the big vision of it, where you're selling this product specifically to India at first, or is it bigger than that? Like, what's the
To
grand vision?
begin, grand vision is to become a global neobank. That's a grand vision. But today, obviously, we have started with India, solving for the Indian licenses and Indian money movement. Eventually, we want to scale it up. But yes, if you ask me like 5 years from now, yes, I want to become a global banking player. But today, we are just starting with India.
So neobank is a layer on top of other banks, right? So like you want to be a layer on top that like
Yeah.
facilitates money movement, and I guess you want to create a big, a simpler UI where everybody can see their money flowing between countries.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I mean, I guess why this idea? Is it because you have like, is there someone in your family that like has a business? Is it like friends who have a business? Like, why this idea from healthcare? Like, why would you jump from that to this?
This obviously healthcare was a different problem statement, and then obviously I work with the consumer products with Paytm money and other things. Why this idea was primarily driven by my father's business, where, as I said, he has been doing this his business globally from the last 20 years. So he has been managing multiple bank accounts. He has been moving money across the world for the last 20 years. And then given the new mandate and China plus one policy where currently focus of India is to become an export hub, I believe this is the right time where e-com or a global enablement is a key to become the next big player for export. That's why I thought it could be a right time. There's a huge need coming up. They have obviously banks solving it at scale. 99% of current transactions are driven by bank is happening today. But to become a $2 trillion, I believe there need to be many more players, many more robust players to be there. And ease of with the kind of service that we have seen in the consumer space, I believe B2B is still yet to be explored and yet to be, at least starting from Indian perspective, is yet to be explored. And there's a lot of requirement over there. So we thought that this could be a good place. Given little knowledge of ours from in fintech, we thought we can build around it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in India, and there's a lot of companies being built in India. So your dad, you saw what he was doing. I guess he was pulling money in, shipping items out,
Yeah. Yep.
and that you just saw that as a field. Uh, so you're saying the import export market is going to get bigger from India,
Yeah.
essentially,
Yeah.
and you're banking on that, which is super interesting. It sounds like the regular banking system is like expensive. The most horrible thing that I think was scary that you said about like the banking system is your money might disappear for 20 days or 15 days.
Yeah. Yes.
People don't see it. Like, so you'll wire money out
Yeah.
and the money will like not be there. Like, people must have panic attacks. Like, if it's a lot
One
of
of
money, like if you're sending like, huge amounts of money, you might be really scared of like what's happening. So
Mhm.
someone from like whatever the areas around India, they'll send it in
Yeah.
and it will evaporate and no one will know where the money is for a while. Like, is it the government like looking at the money? Is it like why does
So
money just evaporate for 15 days? Like just
so
disappear?
so currently why so let's understand what's happening on the scene today on the back end today, just to understand why it is happening, right? So currently, as I was saying earlier, money movement happens between a bank in A in India and a bank B in JP in whatever country that money is coming from, right? Let's say US. As a normal person, our general way is like if somebody is sending money from bank B to bank A, it should not be like these are two banks, they should talk among themselves. But as we understand from the technology perspective and the global scale perspective, does not happen like that, right? There are multiple small banks involved to facilitate that transaction. Just for example, as I said, ICICI and JP Morgan, A and B bank does not talk directly. They might have to go hop via Barclays sitting out in Great Britain because Barclays has ICICI has a common connect with the Barclays account with the Barclays, and Barclays also has account with JP Morgan. That become a facilitator of fund. Since there are multiple banks involved, and multiple banks has their own way of sending money and their own and multiple jurisdictions involved, and multiple jurisdictions mean multiple holidays, multiple way of transferring funds, multiple timings of funds. Sometimes it becomes very hazy and with no visibility and track record. Like where is it is stuck for that matter? It's not like your money is gone. it's like you don't have a transparency or a view where exactly it is stuck. That's the bigger challenge from a businessman. As you said correctly, it gives a panic attack to somebody who has just sent a $1 million, right? Because his business is dependent on that. This is what we thought is a major pain point from an exporter or an importer perspective, where end of day you have supplied the material or you have received the material, but the money that is being used or required for the next work that you're supposed to do is stuck and you can't do anything about it. That's what we thought, can we build a system where you have complete control and visibility? And this is where we see our banking and we partnering multiple banks, because we at a small startup can do that, but bigger banks cannot because they have a different mandate altogether. That's what at least our hypothesis is. We can we can create an effort and we can create a software like that and help our customers.
I guess, sorry, I'm jumping in, but like when you say the word stuck, it's like the bank literally doesn't send it because they're concerned that they need to review what is being moved. And they have like actual human beings like look at the number and they go, before we change the entry in our database and let them update their entry, like we need to audit this and look at this closely with an audit team. Is this what's happening? Like when you say stuck, is that?
So that's only one of the cases. One of the case could be that where they have to check and audit every entry. That's one case. Second cases could be like they are holiday stretch at a country with a corresponding bank. So let's say there are 4 or 5 banks over there, right? One sitting out of US, second in the UK, third maybe in Netherlands, and then finally in India. They have all their way of end of day. It's a batch process that happens in each country, right? Which is happening end of day according to that day's jurisdiction's time frame, right? Maybe let's say there's a long holiday coming from US to UK, and there are 4 days struck for long holiday in UK, right? There's a 4-day gap. Then the timing difference between UK and India. So there are a few other challenges. Like one is like a time zone difference plus jurisdiction difference. Third is bigger is the audit, which obviously we were discussing about, like the audit trail which need to be maintained. And finally, there is actually a person involved in making transaction, which is in Indian scenario, we call it RM, relationship manager, who manages everything on your behalf. So via system, we can, so one of the reasons where blockchain way of moving money is picking up is that where you don't have to intervene via person, right? You don't have to have a visibility of a single person to take control of transaction. So people are trying to solve it in multiple ways. One of the ways, obviously, we are exploring. There's another way with the blockchain coming in and solving for it. But yes, that's the more major idea of building a system like this.
Yeah, that side of it, like, there's something what even blockchain wants to solve in payments,
Yes.
right? And being decentralized, it gives you more freedom about where your funds and how you're moving it. Not any like confidentiality is also involved while moving money. And I believe blockchain is way ahead of the time right now. It will need more infrastructure, more adoption over the countries. But at the same time, I believe whatever you are building right now, currently, it is purely on the basis of customer pain points.
Yeah.
And I would like to know, like, what does a small business owner, SME in India, wants from their financial services? Like, if I'm a SME, what they really need, like, what are their go-to things when they choose what kind of payment system I should have, or while choosing a bank, why they would prefer ICICI over HDFC, like just a mindset of the customer you're catering to.
So if I have to answer that, right, generally there are 3 or 4 major things that a SME look for, irrespective of export or import. Let's forget about the export import part of it. Like just looking up the partner, banking partner. Let's say if I have to start a company today, my major would be like response from the bank when I need it. When I say response is something support and everything, because for everything that you do in India, you need a kind of a written consent to add another account, to add another team member, to make a payout. You kind of need a written consent from a bank, a banking partner, relationship manager. So one is that like having a support or success manager. In our scenario in tech world, that we call a success manager or a relationship manager in a bank. That's one. Second, other than that, availability of bank, as in like when you say system availability of the bank. So as and when we are going digital, banks need to be going digital as well, because when I'm moving money, like as and when the companies grow, you need kind of support from the bank where systems are not down for hours, right? That's another thing that as a founder or SME they look for too. Third major, which is coming from a small and medium enterprise, is the availability of lending part of it. Like when I am having an account with somebody, there's an overdraft facility that I want to access. So availability or ease of accessing those is another part that SME look for. Not everyone, like somebody who is a cash flow positive might not need it, but major SMEs, smaller part, they actually run on the debt. So they would be looking for those kind of facility and ease of accessing of those uh, lending from the banking partner. That's something I believe many of the SMEs will look forward to, and they choose wisely on that part. Which of the banks? With when I say wisely on choosing on that part, depending that will depend on what data collection they would need, and do they need all the access to all the books or some books? What's the limit that they would give? So those are things that they might look for. There are a few other small things would be like obviously FD facilities and stuff, which is a smaller part of it, but bigger would be on that direction.
Got it. Got it. So in India, I've seen the adoption of P2P UPI transactions. There is big players, Paytm, where you have worked previously as well, PhonePe, BharatPe. But on the B2B side, I think there are very less options for cross-border payments. But yeah, UPI is getting global now.
Yes.
It's getting partnered with multiple countries. So do you see them, or else why just you give an introduction about UPI? Where is it right now? What are the vision? Uh, what does the government have like vision with UPI, and is it gonna be a competitor for you, or are you gonna use the same platform to extend your services?
Great question. So UPI, just to give a brief, UPI is peer-to-peer, as you said, where started as more of a peer-to-peer money transfer, or now peer-to-merchant money transfer, where just driven by NPCI, obviously Central Payment Corporation of India, National Payment Corporation of India. Now being UPI being partnering with Singapore's, Brazil, SEPA, UAE's, right? Essentially, idea of so UPI essentially work on account to account transfer. We definitely see as more of an enabler of moving money rather than a competitor, because we would like to drive on that. So major focus of that would be on somebody who's traveling to multiple countries, right? So currently, let's say, rather than impacting on B2B side, is more impact on the peer to merchant transfer at global scale. Let's say somebody is traveling today from India to UAE. Let's assume that, right? Currently, if somebody has to go there, generally we carry the local currency or maybe a forex card to make a payment. Given the new infrastructure or new ease of things, I believe QR code are available everywhere in every country nowadays. So essentially, with UPI partnering with the local rails of the country, I believe any traveler or a person who is moving, they can just scan their QR code, money get debited from their INR account, directly get transferred, converted, and transferred to the uh, counterparties in that country. So that way, I believe it's a more payout way. It would become a rather a big play where money movement outside of India using UPI rails could be enabled. Starting with travel, which is a bigger use case. Eventually, it will impact same on the B2B side as well, where you just share your QR code and people can pay you money directly, or a link where money happens via two rails. One is a UPI rail in India and the counterparty rail over there, probably ACH and UPI talking to each other, which I believe FedEx is not very keen on. So the things happening at scale, I believe it will definitely impact the travel industry. Slowly will come down to B2B side of things as well, more from the Indian perspective, more from the payout side. Yes, and we as an Infinity, we do not see as a competitor, but more of an enabler and a layer to be used for moving money.
Are you envisioning like a universal UPI? And I guess UPI is in India, like just so the audience knows, it's a consumer focused way to move money quickly, almost like Venmo in the United States. It's very consumer friendly, but it's driven by the government, at least as far as I know. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and it is also account to account. It doesn't have a wallet
Account. Yeah.
system, so that's moreover like Zelle, but universal.
Okay. But they are you envisioning building that for the like universe like across the United like the world? Like what?
So what essentially government is trying to do is currently as a person, if I have to come down to US, I generally carry the dollars or I have a forex card, which is a network that takes a cut out of the whole thing. Essentially, it's not a money transferring happening from my bank account to a end customer's bank account. It's not account to account transfer. What government is envisioning is moving out this layer of network where money transfer happen from account to account at scale. The way we have been doing with ACH and this local currency account on B2B side, government is trying to do a similar thing at the scale with partnering with multiple countries where a single layer could be used for account to account transfer, where network or private companies can be uh, moved aside and the cut that has been charged at the end of day by the network can be removed. That's one of the envisioning, at least I am seeing. And I think that's a huge use cases for, as I said, major starting with the consumer and then eventually at the business side as well from the payout perspective.
And you say it's coming from India. They're envisioning something like this, or no? It's just your company envisioning
No,
something like this.
it's happening. It's already happening. So Indian companies, India has partnered with Singapore. India
Okay.
has partnered with UAE. So it's India's partnered with Brazil for with their local rails. So basically, Indian local rails are talking to their Brazil's local rail or UAE's local rail of payment. So somebody has to build a product on top of those rails
I see.
to let people use it.
Is that and that's what you guys are looking to build, or is that like something you're just like not
No,
focused on?
not happening, happening today. But yes,
Okay.
we would like to explore in future. This is more from the payout perspective from the Indian market. But that's more focused today. Today is more focused towards peer to peer. Since
Got
ours
it.
is business to business, so we are currently not focusing on that. But would
Okay.
love to see how it grows and what becomes of it.
I guess you're all of it right now for your company is focused on importing the money in, correct? So that's your sweet spot. So India is your sweet spot right now, and then exporters or people sending stuff or whatever it is, and then importing that, bringing that money in. That's the sweet spot of your company. Are you ever envisioning like sending the money out? I guess that's the long-term
That's a
vision.
long term, yes. That's a long term vision. Long term vision is to be a single player for anybody to import, export, and import. Obviously, there are multiple requirements. When you look up import, there are multiple things that happens during the import. So if I am asking a third party vendor to send me a good, since these are two companies or two businessmen sitting in different countries, there are multiple vendor verification need to happen. That's one of the important part of this KYC, which is vendor verification. Second, there are multiple other things that comes into picture, like you do not want to pay 100% upfront because there's shipment happening. You want to see the way bills or shipping consignment and details of those consignment. So there's multiple ways that you can split the payment. That's 30/70 or a letter of credit. So there are multiple things that comes when you work on import side of business. So at scale, we want to do that. But yes, that's I believe is 1 and 2 years, 2.5 years down the line. Yes, that's something we would like to solve for. And, this is a different ballgame from export business.
You could just focus on the export business and you'd have a massive company. Like just that one sweet spot for the company and you'd become huge like Flexport. You know Flexport,
Yeah.
that one. So Flexport's a Y Combinator company that basically during COVID, I think it blew up where
Mhm.
people were just shipping stuff back and forth. And I think Flexport was like literally, I think it's the software that drives like import of products to different places. As far as I know, I don't know the product too much, but
Okay.
you seem
So
like a
the
layer on top of that also where the money movement is happening. So it's like a Flexport plus you guys creates a really good synergy for like importing, exporting goods with money,
good. Yeah.
right?
So I, that's something we have to explore. We have not yet explored that direction. But yes, I understand what Flexport on high level does. But yes, that could be a good synergy to look forward to in future.
Possible partnership where like
Yeah,
that they're going to be sending stuff out of India and it's like, I
yeah,
don't know, $45 million worth of stuff. If you
yeah,
could see that in Flexport and you'd be like, all right, let's move those funds over so that all those units could be sold and shipped out from the
yeah,
Flexport app.
yeah.
Something like
So
that might
Flex,
be really interesting.
yeah. So and the tracking and everything of the export, shipping and everything can be done on the Flexport, and payment can happen via this platform,
Right.
probably.
Going back on the topic of crypto. So like India does lock in the money. So this a lot of countries do this. So like United States, if someone wants to wire all of their life savings out,
Mm-hmm.
America may not let you do that. Right? Same thing with India. They don't allow you to just export your whole life savings out. But on the business side, it's very similar, I think, in India, where they're going to review that sort of thing. So like, will crypto become supported in some way? I mean, you can't legally bypass the country, but it is a non, banking instrument to allow flow of funds in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you don't want to break the law, so it's like you have to follow the law, but at the same time, it does allow for like money flow to happen in a different way where there's banks not involved and there's less. Say the government's okay with like a lot of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but the banks themselves have their own scrutinization process for like the flow of funds. When you have this crypto, it's
Right,
different. So it
right.
sounds like you're looking at that closely as like a way around some of the banks at some point.
Currently, we are not definitely not looking into it,
Okay.
but the way market is going, I believe that's gonna happen. Indian government also have started building their own currency, digital currency to begin with. So rather than talking about using any normal fiat or any other currency which is not being regulated by government, government is trying or experimenting with their own currencies. That's like they are already doing that. Even they believe it's happening, it's already happening, it's the future for the money movement. But I believe Indian government would still need that kind of control or a regulation, which today obviously we are not doing that. If we want to, we will be exploring that eventually. But today it's not happening with the Indian government too adamant on controlling the flow of fund, as you said correctly, because I believe forex reserve is a key for at least where we see ourselves today. So I don't see that control being given away so easily.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I guess if it was a controlled crypto, they would really like it. Is crypto like
Yes.
seen as a bad thing or a good thing by the government in India?
So new, it's definitely the current state of crypto is being seen as a bad way, but they see this is coming as a new way of moving fund. They like acknowledge the crypto happening. They acknowledge it's going to be a big thing. But the current state of things is something which they are not okay with. That's what at least we hear from the central bank. That's why the whole idea of having a controlled crypto product or a digital currency of our own coming out of government. That's the way, at least, that's the current learnings that we see from RBI is the Central Bank of India, from their communications.
I would love to talk more about stuff. Like I would want to know how is it like to start a business in India. Done it twice. You have run a successful company and up for another one. So would love to know about like what's it's like to do it in India. How did you went through applying to YC and getting in? What was your experience? So what did you learn and how could a company approach out of India and solving it for a global scale?
For anybody to start a business today, one and definitely the most important part being the understanding the need of the customer is important. I believe that's my one of the biggest learning, and I believe Daniel would know that as well, and Agam, you would also know, like having an idea, but having somebody to actually use it and loving is a different thing. That's more important. If you have somebody who is willing to use your product and loving your product and ready to pay for it, you can start off. Start off when I say one, building the product. but you have to understand the distribution part of it, which I have seen very. Uh, I believe that's one of the learnings from my previous startup as well, as we as a first time founder try to solve for either funding or the product part of it, but we forget the distribution part of it. So as a somebody who is starting a new company, I believe distribution is the first thing that one should focus on or understand about. Like, okay, you can make something, but if you're not able to sell it and you don't have distribution, you're not going to make much out of it. That's one something I believe somebody has to understand. Tech and product is a second, I believe that's solvable problem statement. And with distribution and a little product, funding will follow. So obviously, when I say funding will follow, it's not like anybody will give you money, but at least if you have numbers, you will get more chances, and end of the day, you can get out of it. So that's why I believe as a startup founder, you should must major definitely focus on customers and distribution and solving customer needs. That's one. Second, coming down to YC and why we applied and how it has helped us, right? As we were discussing, we always wanted to build a global company, right? And YC as a platform gives you a lot of opportunity to go global from day one. It's like Daniel would know, and even Agam, you would know, the YC is a very good community to test out your things, test your products first time. Like there's no, uh, as a founder, you will find many people similar to you. You want to try that your product that you're building. They will be first evangelist and first stakeholder in your product. So that's YC helps you in that community actually of YC helps you. And that's why one of the reasons we went to YC to leverage that community and their learnings. And obviously platform that it provides when you want to go global. So our learning was that. And during YC, one of the things that we took as a very important thing was we in YC, we always had a bi-weekly group office hours, where every week we used to look up one metric, which is something you take as a target for yourself and your company, and you want to achieve that. So that's something is stuck with today after 6 months of YC today with us as well, where we take that as a one metric that as a company we should be targeting. Like for each team, what we have done is we have divided and kept a metric for each of them, where every team leader or a member takes a goal for himself, and every week trying to come up and provide if they have achieved that goal or not. That's something because that gives you kind of momentum, because end of the day, it's a building a startup is a momentum game. That small wins and a small target reaching things gives you momentum, and that's YC has helped us build. And we have taken that from YC to today to in our business as well. Your third question, which I completely forgot, I'm not sure what was that. I hope I answered your question, but I completely lost your third question.
No, it's fine. You kind of got hold of all the questions. Well, it was about like how to envision a company growing out of India and going global. Like, scenarios in India are different
Yeah.
than problems in the world.
Yeah.
Customers in India have a different mindset. It's really difficult to get them uh, get them pay for your product and
Yep.
get their trust, win their trust, and just keeping a hold of them. Like, how do you envision that? And I hope that your company goes global and it grows big. Just want to know your vision over that. Like,
No, this is absolutely one of the biggest, I believe, one of the challenges that we have to solve for when we go global. Building in India is easy. Selling in India is difficult, as you said correctly. And building in India for global is another problem statement, because as a founders, we have learned the way of GTM in India, but since other countries, GTM is totally different. So this is where the whole I believe YC would help us. We are leveraging that. Obviously, we want to leverage that. And I believe we will learn as and when we grow to different countries. So our playbook over here will be we won't be going global from across countries from day zero. We will go country by country and learn and use the learning that we had in one country and replicate in another country. That's at least our playbook would be. I don't think so. We would be going like if I have to start tomorrow and I have to want to go to a different country, I would start probably with the US as another country, then probably GBP after that. So I cannot go US, GBP, Euro, and everything on a single day zero. So at least that's something I would do. because as a founder, you have to take care of not just one, is like your team, your bank balance, as well as customers. As I said, distribution need to be sorted. So that's a playbook at least we would use, going country by country, using the playbook that we have solved for, and take learning from other companies who has done that. So it is not like many companies have not done. We have companies like MoveEngage, we have companies like multiple companies going according who have gone out of India and build for scale across the world. So that's something we can take a playbook from those people. Obviously, our journey will be a little different from theirs journey, but there's always a lot of learning from others. So yeah, we are happy to take that fight on whenever we are there. But yes, that would be a great time to be.
Awesome. I mean, this was honestly a great podcast, super informative on just like the state of the industry and finance and everything. Thank you so much for being on. I think it was great. I learned a lot of information, honestly,
Sure.
on
Thank you,
everything.
Daniel. No, thank you. This has been really great for me. I obviously love the conversation. And yes, let's stay in touch and let's see. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Saurabh.